Good day everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about the mind map of Chapter 7 Memory. So we have here the types, stages, processes, and the brain parts involved in memory. So now let us define what is memory. Memory is defined as the ability to store and retrieve information over time. It is the mental system for receiving, encoding, storing, organizing, altering, and retrieving information. Our memories allows us to do relatively simple things such as remembering where we park our car or the name of the current president of Russia, but also allows us to form complex memories such as how to ride a bicycle or to write a computer program. Moreover, our memories define us as individuals. They are our experiences, our relationships, our successes, and our failures. Without our memories, we would not have a life. So there are two types of memory, namely explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memory refers to knowledge or experiences that can be consciously remembered. It is when we access memory by asking a person to consciously remember things, and there are two types of explicit memory, episodic and semantic. Episodic memory refers to the first-hand experiences that we have had. For example, recollections of our high school graduation day or of the fantastic dinner we had in Tagaytay last year. Semantic memory, on the other hand, refers to our knowledge of facts and concepts about the world. Like the absolute value of -90 is greater than the absolute value of 9, and that one definition of the word affect is the experience of feeling or emotion. The second type of memory is implicit memory. It refers to the influence of experience on behavior even if the individual is not aware of those influences. While explicit memory consists of the things that we can consciously report that we know, implicit memory, on the other hand, is the knowledge that we cannot consciously access. However, implicit memory is nevertheless exceedingly important to us because it has a direct effect on our behavior. So there are three general types of implicit memory: procedural memory, classical conditioning effects, and priming. Procedural memory refers to our often unexplainable knowledge of how to do things. It is when we walk from one place to another, when we speak to another person in English, dial a cell phone, or play a video game. Procedural memory allows us to perform complex tasks even though we may not be able to explain to others how we do them. The second type of implicit memory is the classical conditioning effects, in which we learn, often without effort or awareness, to associate neutral stimuli such as sound or light with another stimulus such as food, which creates a naturally occurring response such as enjoyment or salivation. The final type of implicit memory is known as priming, or changes in behavior as a result of experiences that have happened frequently or recently. Priming refers both to the activation of knowledge and to the influence of that activation on behavior. For example, we can prime the concept of kindness by presenting people with words related to kindness. People who are primed with the concept of kindness may act more kindly. Now, we move on to the three major stages of memory, which are the sensory, short-term, and long-term memory. The sensory memory refers to the brief storage of sensory information. It is a memory buffer that lasts only very briefly, and then, unless it is attended to and passed on for more processing, is forgotten. The purpose of sensory memory is to give the brain some time to process the incoming sensations and to allow us to see the world as an unbroken stream of events rather than as individual pieces. So there are different sensory memory, namely iconic memory or the visual sensory memory. There's the echoic memory or the auditory sensory memory that can last up to 4 seconds. And lastly, eidetic imagery or photographic memory, in which people can report details of an image over long periods of time. The next stage of memory is the short-term memory or STM, which is the place where small amounts of information can be temporarily kept for more than a few seconds, but usually for less than 1 minute. Information in short-term memory is not stored permanently but rather becomes available for us to process. And the process that we use to make sense of, modify, interpret, and store information in SM are known as working memory. It is another name for short-term memory, especially when it is used for the thinking and problem solving. The final stage of memory is the long-term memory, which is the memory system used for relatively permanent storage of meaningful information. For example, when we want to remember the name of the new boy in class, the name of the movie we saw last week, and the material for our upcoming psychology test, we are relying on our long-term memory. Under the long-term memory, we have the term called interference, which is the tendency for new memories to impair retrieval of older memories, and the reverse. There are two kinds of interference, which are the retroactive and proactive interference. The retroactive interference is the tendency for new memories to interfere with the retrieval of old memories, while the proactive interference is the tendency for old memories to interfere with the retrieval of newer memories. Now let us move on to the three processes central to long-term memory. Encoding is the process by which we place the things that we experience into memory. Unless information is encoded, it cannot be remembered. But not everything we experience can or should be encoded. We tend to encode things that we need to remember and not bother to encode things that are irrelevant. The next process is storage, which is holding of information in memory for later use. The final process is retrieval, which is the process of reactivating information that has been stored in memory. Now, moving on to the parts of the brain involved in memory. The hippocampus is the brain structure associated with emotion and transfer of information from short-term memory to long-term memory. It helps us encode information about spatial relationships, the context in which events were experienced, and the associations among memories. The hippocampus also serves in part as a switching point that holds the memory for a short time and then directs the information to other parts of the brain, such as the cortex, to actually do the rehearsing, elaboration, and long-term storage. Without the hippocampus, which might be described as the brain's librarian, our explicit memories would be inefficient and disorganized. The next part of the brain involved is the cerebellum, which concentrates on implicit and emotional memories. It is more active when we are learning associations and in priming tasks. The last part involved is the amygdala, which initiates and controls the storage of many of our most important emotional memories, and particularly those related to fear. And that is all. Thank you for listening.